Welcome to Debate Combats, where tonight's motion asks whether democratic governments should use temporary, military-enforced no-fly zones to open air corridors and evacuate families from active conflict when it is technically feasible. For clarity, temporary means limited in time, military-enforced means protected by force to keep aircraft and airspace safe, and evacuation prioritizes children and older adults. Our affirmative team argues that such corridors should be used when possible, because saving civilians fast is both realistic and right. Our negative team argues that these corridors risk escalation, legal tangles, and tragic mistakes that could make things worse. Tonight's matchup is women versus men, with women on the affirmative and men on the negative. We will keep language plain, evidence central, and ethics front and center. Affirmative, the floor is yours for your opening case.
We affirm because when a fire spreads, you do not debate the color of the hose, you open a safe exit and get people out.
Every hour counts for a child under bombardment, and a protected air corridor can turn hours of terror into minutes of hope.
Temporary no-fly zones backed by credible protection create a bubble of safety that lets humanitarian flights land and lift families out.
This is not fantasy, because modern radar, satellite feeds, and shared air traffic protocols make tightly bounded air corridors practical.
The principle is simple, because if we can keep the sky clear over a stadium for a game, we can keep it clear to save a school.
Risk is real, but risk is not a veto, and careful rules of engagement, advance notice, and hotlines reduce miscalculation.
Proportionality and distinction guide the mission, so the goal is not to win territory but to win time for families.
Air bridges shorten dangerous ground routes, so grandparents and toddlers spend minutes in the air instead of days at checkpoints.
Democracies owe transparency so they can publish corridor maps, time windows, and incident reports in near real time.
Consent is not ignored, because regional partners and neutral monitors can verify who is flying, who is on board, and where planes land.
If a corridor can be flown safely for 90 minutes and save 300 lives, it is immoral to leave those seats empty.
Some argue that corridors pick sides, yet the only side here is the side of breathing, crying, hungry civilians.
Technology lets pilots follow geofenced lanes and altitude gates, and that precision shrinks the zone and the risk.
When storms hit, airports coordinate in minutes, so in war we can coordinate faster, because storms do not target hospitals.
Temporary means sunset clauses, so each mission expires unless renewed with public justification.
Military enforced means credible deterrence, so hostile aircraft are warned off before they wander into tragedy.
We also propose neutral insignia on corridor flights, mixed crews, and live telemetry logs that observers can audit.
Evacuation lists can prioritize children, pregnant people, and the elderly, while keeping a small quota for caregivers and medics.
The cost of action is measurable in fuel and hours, while the cost of inaction is measured in names and graves.
If we can, we should, because the duty to rescue does not wait for perfect peace.
Thank you, affirmative. And now the negative team may present their opening case.
We oppose because drawing a no-fly box on a map does not erase the fog of war, it concentrates it.
People want a lifeline, yet a rushed corridor can become a bullseye, and false hope can be its own kind of harm.
Military-enforced no-fly zones are not locks, they are promises that must be kept by force, and force invites challenge.
When jets shadow a corridor, nervous fingers tighten on triggers, and one misread blip can end dozens of lives.
Air corridors require consent from actors who often disagree on borders, and without robust consent, the legal footing cracks.
Civilians can be used as human shields, and a corridor can be gamed by fighters who blend in and hitch a ride to regroup.
Technical feasibility is not moral sufficiency, because a corridor that works on paper can fail on contact.
Grand plans feel noble, yet grief grows when a flight is downed, and grief does not read footnotes.
If a hostile actor tests the boundary, enforcers must either shoot or back down, and both choices escalate risk.
A corridor demands clear skies, but conflicts do not schedule storms, and chaos loves a crowded runway.
Every aircraft and escort pulls resources from defense and diplomacy, so the corridor may weaken the pressure for ceasefire.
Moving the vulnerable by air can split families, leaving parents on the ground and guilt in the sky.
Transparency tools can be spoofed, logs can be faked, and neutral badges can be counterfeited by those who thrive on confusion.
Once a government flies one corridor, public pressure will ask for 10 more, and mission creep will outrun caution.
Temporary measures often become habits, and habits in war normalize exceptional force as everyday policy.
The safest corridor is the one paved by silence of guns, so pour energy into verified local ceasefires first.
If we must move people, focus on land routes guarded by community elders, medics, and monitors who read the terrain.
Hope needs helmets, not hashtags, and the hard work is deconfliction at ground level, block by block.
We ask the House to reject the motion, not because compassion is wrong, but because this method risks the very lives it seeks to save.
Choose prudence over spectacle, and save families by ending fire, not by flying through it.
Thank you for setting the stage, affirmative, and please continue by pressing your advantage with a focused attack.
Here is the blunt fact: delays kill, and a temporary shielded sky buys the only currency civilians can actually spend, which is time.
Negative. You now have the floor to respond to that strike with a concise defense.
The claim mistakes speed for safety, because time saved in the air can be lost in blood if one warning shot turns into a chain reaction.
Negative. Stay with us and pivot swiftly into your own targeted attack.
Your plan outsources morality to radar, yet radars do not read intent, and you cannot encrypt fear at 20,000 feet.
Affirmative. I am handing the mic back to you for a sharp defense.
We are not encrypting fear. We are reducing exposure, because short flights inside verified corridors lower contact with shelling and checkpoints.
Negative. One more clean pass to you for a two-voice attack, and keep it tight.
Leader here. The proposal confuses humanitarian branding with strategic clarity, since an air bridge still sits on a battlefield.
Support here. Every battlefield punishes ambiguity, so mixed signals about enforcement rules can invite probing incidents from those who seek headlines.
Thank you, Negative. I will curb the momentum there and return to the affirmative for a two-voice counterattack.
Leader speaking, families do not need abstract clarity. They need safe lift, and tight windows with strict altitude lanes deliver that pragmatically.
Support joining. Coordination cells that include neutral monitors, air traffic controllers, and medics can publish live slots and close them at the first anomaly.
Affirmative. I will pause you there, and I am now passing to the negative for a two-voice defense, featuring direct answers and a probing question.
Answering first, publishing slots is not a shield, because bad actors can read the same schedule and set traps at takeoff or landing.
Probing now. If escort fighters must deter intruders, will you accept the risk of shooting down a misidentified craft, or will you let it pass into the corridor?
Back to the affirmative for a two-voice defense with replies and one pointed weakness callout.
Replying first, layered identification with beacon authentication, voice verification and transponder cross-checks lowers misidentification risk to a level comparable to civilian air policing.
Weakness call-out. Your alternative relies on ground routes that routinely collapse under shelling and looting, so your safer path is often a mirage that keeps people in the kill zone longer.
Judges, I would like an interim read, so please offer which team you lean toward now, one strength of that team, one weakness of the other, and a word of encouragement, beginning with the first.
I currently lean affirmative, because their focus on narrow windows and verifiable lanes feels operational rather than utopian. The negative team's weakness so far is treating fog as a constant, while the other side shows how to thin it with layered checks. Keep sharpening feasibility with numbers and negative team, press them to model escalation thresholds with equal precision.
My lean is still soft, yet I tip toward the negative, because they are centering human unpredictability in a pressure cooker. The affirmative soft spot is assuming clean handoffs among agencies that do not always play nicely during crises. Affirmative, anchor your claims in familiar disaster logistics, and negative, bring concrete alternatives that still move grandmothers and babies today.
At this point I am undecided, since I hear tight engineering from one side and lived risk from the other. The negative team's strength is their alertness to mission creep, and the affirmative's weakness is underexplained deterrence doctrine. Both sides show me rules of engagement that civilians can understand, and keep your tempers cool while you do it.
Thank you, judges. We enter round 2 with fresh angles expected, and I will pass first to the negative for a new attack.
A new line? Your corridors create a visibility theater where cameras love planes, and fighters love cameras, so attention itself becomes a hazard multiplier.
Affirmative. Please answer that with a measured defense.
We counter that visibility can be safety, because live-streamed telemetry and third-party observers raise the cost of interference for any actor who craves plausible deniability.
Affirmative. Stay on the front foot and mount a single speaker attack.
Here's a fresh strike. Training regional pilots on standardized corridor procedures seeds long-term capacity. So even after the last flight, the region keeps safer skies.
Negative. The floor returns to you for a concise defense.
Capacity without stable consent is a ladder lean on fog, because procedures collapse when command chains splinter at dusk.
Affirmative. I now invite a 2-voice attack that pairs leadership with reinforcement.
Leader speaking, consent can be bundled with aid, so access to fuel, spare parts, and communication bandwidth is conditioned on respecting corridor windows.
Reinforcing, conditionality is not coercion, it is reciprocity, and it rewards restraint while creating shared interest in safe flights.
Negative. I will hold the floor steady and hand it to you for a 2-voice attack in return.
Leader here, conditioning access can backfire, because parties who feel cornered will jam signals or stage near misses to discredit the effort.
Support here, and when a near miss hits headlines, political pressure at home will yank the plug before the corridor has a chance to learn and improve.
Affirmative. I will cap that exchange and pass you the mic for a 2-voice defense with an answer and a counter question.
Answer first. The protocol bakes in immediate suspension on credible threats, followed by a restart only after an independent safety board clears the fix.
Counter question. If we never accept any risk at all, how will we move chemo patients and newborns when ground roads are mined and bridges are gone?
Negative. Back to you for a 2-voice defense with 1 direct answer and 1 calibrated weakness note.
Direct answer: we can phase mixed convoys with protected buses and field ambulances during verified lulls while leveraging local knowledge to avoid choke points.
Weakness note: your safety board requires time and trust that rarely exist mid-conflict, so the restart may never come while families wait with empty bags.
Let us keep momentum and circle to targeted moments now, so negative. Please deliver a single voice attack focused on law and legitimacy.
Legitimacy challenge. A corridor that lacks a United Nations mandate or regional treaty cover risks undermining the very norms it claims to defend.
Affirmative. Answer with a single voice defense that addresses mandate pathways.
Mandate path. We would pursue clustered authorizations from regional organizations plus consent letters from airspace controllers to create legal scaffolding that holds until a fuller mandate is negotiated.
Affirmative. Follow that with a single voice attack aimed at practicality.
Practical note: small turboprops can use short airstrips close to shelters, so the mission footprint shrinks and turnaround cycles multiply.
Negative. Please provide a single voice defense that speaks to logistics under fire.
Logistics point: short fields are magnets for mortars, and maintenance on rough strips drags crews into prolonged exposure.
We will widen the lens again, and affirmative. Prepare a 2-voice attack with a leader and a crisp data boost.
Leader speaking. Evacuation lifts trauma out of a blast zone, and mental health outcomes improve when fear cycles are interrupted, even for a short time.
Data boost. Post-conflict studies show rapid extraction of vulnerable groups reduces post-traumatic symptoms and cuts later hospital loads.
Negative. You may answer with a 2-voice attack of your own before we move to new lines.
Leader here, cherry-pick studies ignore selection bias, because those who reach planes are already the most connected and resourced.
Support here, and when the airlift leaves, communities can fracture as social anchors disperse, which complicates recovery when the shooting stops.
Affirmative. I am curbing that stream and inviting a 2-voice defense with replies and a reflective pushback.
Reply 1. Slot allocation that reserves seats for those without papers and those referred by clinics can cut the bias you warn about.
Reflective pushback. Community fracture is real, yet graves fracture communities more, and survival preserves the chance to rebuild bonds later.
We now tighten tempo, and negative, offer a sharp single voice attack focused on cost.
Cost line. Every fuel load and escort hour drains budgets from shelter winterization, water systems, and ceasefire monitors who lower harm at scale.
Affirmative. A single voice defense is now in order.
Budget response. Emergency funds exist for acute rescue, and audits can ring-fence corridor costs to avoid cannibalizing long-term services.
Negative. I will pass for a two-voice attack featuring a leader and an evidence echo.
Leader here. Once jets patrol a skylane, adversaries adapt with drones and gliders that slip rules, and rules lag technology.
Evidence echo. Open source footage shows how quickly low-tech platforms exploit seams, and a corridor is nothing but seams in motion.
Affirmative. I will now pass for a two-voice attack that pairs leadership with a systems answer.
Leader speaking. Seams can be stitched with layered sensors, drone net zones, and no glow lighting that reduces target painting.
Systems answer. A mesh of ground radar, passive receivers, and visual observers triangulates threats fast enough to abort rather than engage.
Negative. Please deliver a two-voice defense with one answer and one tactical challenge before we return to judges later.
Answer first. Abort spirals still expose aircraft during turns, and a frightened crowd sees an aborted takeoff as panic, not prudence.
Tactical challenge. How will you prevent stampedes when windows close suddenly, and who bears blame when people left at the gate never get another chance?
Affirmative. Use a two-voice defense to close this sequence with a reply and a question that tests their consistency.
Reply here. Clear boarding rules and standby rosters reduce chaos, and loudspeakers with multilingual briefings set expectations early.
Question here. If managed windows breed panic, why do airports evacuate during peacetime emergencies with less chaos than a shelled checkpoint on a dirt road?
We will introduce fresh voices for balance and affirmative. Deliver a single speaker attack that leans on ethics.
Ethical claim. When rescue is feasible and withheld, neutrality becomes a costume for abandonment.
Negative. Answer with a single speaker defense keeping ethics grounded in prudence.
Prudence claim. Restraint is not abandonment when action widens the blast radius, and the first duty is to do no additional harm.
Negative. Stay on stage and press a new single speaker attack on precedent.
Precedent point. Extraordinary tools tend to become ordinary, so expect future leaders to waive the corridor playbook for less urgent causes.
Affirmative. Respond with a single speaker defense on guardrails.
Guardrail answer. Automatic sunsets, independent audits, and public postmortems keep the playbook hard to abuse and easy to retire.
We return to combination plays, so negative. Field a two-voice attack, aimed at sovereignty and regional blowback.
Leader leading. Sovereignty is not a side quest, it is the main quest, and foreign enforced skyboxes stain that core norm.
Support adding. Neighbors will mirror the tactic, so a world of dueling corridors arrives faster than ceasefires.
Affirmative. I will cap that and invite a two-voice attack that reframes sovereignty through citizen safety.
Leader pivot. Sovereignty exists to protect people, and a shielded lane that saves people restores the very purpose that sovereignty claims to defend.
Reframing note. Regional blowback shrinks when nearby states co-own the protocol, share the logs, and rotate crews.
Negative. Now deliver a two-voice defense, where one answers directly and the other identifies a fragile hinge in the plan.
Direct answer. Co-ownership can turn into coalition confusion, and split commands make slow calls under fast pressure.
Fragile hinge. Your deterrence rests on credible force, yet the moment force is used, politics can collapse the mission overnight.
Affirmative. Produce a two-voice defense with one crisp reply and one precise improvement.
Crisp reply. Centralized corridor command with delegated abort authority prevents paralysis and keeps the mission crisp.
Precise improvement. A permanent hotline staffed by multilingual controllers and backed by published playbooks shortens decision cycles.
We will accelerate cadence for a closing burst in this segment, and negative, offer a single voice attack that synthesizes risk into a verdict.
Synthesis. When a plan requires perfect coordination among imperfect actors under fire, the expected value tilts negative.
Affirmative. A single voice defense to keep parity.
Parity defense. The plan requires disciplined coordination, not perfection, and redundancy cushions human error.
Negative. Unleash a final 2 voice attack for this block, leader first and supporter second.
Leader thrust. Illusions of control invite bravado, and bravado invites accidents that write their own headlines.
Support thrust. Families need boring safety, not cinematic flights through crosshairs.
Affirmative. I will restrain the tempo and pass you a 2 voice attack that blends calm leadership with specific safeguards.
Leader calm, boring safety is exactly the point, which is why slots are short, lanes are narrow, and escorts are instructed to warn away rather than shoot whenever possible.
Safeguard list, geofenced approach paths, silent taxi procedures, and staggered departures reduce patterns that adversaries can time.
Negative. Time for a 2 voice defense with 1 answer and 1 counter scenario.
Answer. Staggered departures also lengthen total exposure, so more minutes means more chances for bad luck to turn into bad news.
Counter scenario. A fuel truck stuck on a rough strip creates a soft target cluster, and no checklist can make randomness behave.
Affirmative. Answer with a 2 voice defense that closes the loop for this chapter with a reply and a forward-looking note.
Reply. Contingency vehicles and tow tractors are staged precisely to clear stuck assets fast, and standby strips are pre-cleared to absorb diverted landings.
Forward note. Each mission generates data that trains the next one, so risk trends down as procedures mature rather than drift.
We will now take a breath and set the line for the next exchanges, and both teams have introduced most voices with strength and control, which keeps this contest fierce and fair. Before we close, are there new angles or final sparks either team needs to put on the record? And if so, keep it sharp and specific.
Yes, one more point. If we can build safe corridors for sports and summits, we can build them for children and grandparents without pretending the sky is magic.
I will counter, prestige events are not wars, and false analogies are not flight plans.
Then address the core. If a 90-minute window can extract a neonatal ward, why should red tape outvote survival?
Because windows with jets at the edges are invitations to test boundaries, and each test risks a headline you cannot erase.
Headlines are not the metric, lives are, and the math says shorter exposure beats days on mined roads.
Your math forgets that aborted takeoffs trigger crowd panic, and panic tramples the very people you want to save.
Crowd risk falls when briefings are clear, rosters are posted, and messages are repeated by trusted local voices with the microphone.
Trust is not a switch, and in shattered cities, the microphone often belongs to whoever shouts loudest with a rifle.
That is why crews include local medics and elders, who lend credibility that armored vests cannot buy.
Credibility does not stop a drone with a cheap glide kit, and your safeguards lag the pace of improvisation.
Layered sensors and abort authority exist precisely to stay ahead of improvisation, and restraint beats bravado when seconds count.
Restraint is a word, yet rules of engagement are choices that carry body counts when they go wrong.
Rules can require 3-step warnings and verified hostile intent, turning hair triggers into discipline with receipts.
Receipts do not comfort families when a single misread turns a safe lane into a sky grave.
What comforts families is stepping onto a plane and stepping off into quiet, and corridors create that path when nothing else can.
Quiet built on air patrols is unstable, and instability breeds accidents that drain public will in the countries flying the patrols.
Public will grows when missions show transparent success, and transparency is not a threat to democracy, it is its instrument.
Success on day 1 can be disaster on day 3, and your own sunset clauses admit that the idea cannot stand without a clock.
Clocks are safeguards, not confessions, and they prevent yesterday's emergency from becoming tomorrow's habit.
Habits creep anyway, and future leaders will cite your corridors to justify dubious flights with noble titles.
Guardrails and public audits make misuse politically expensive, and expense stops bad habits faster than slogans do.
Your audits arrive after errors. And accountability that arrives late is a memorial, not a shield.
Memorials are not the goal, and the shield must be built when people are still breathing and waiting.
Waiting for a ceasefire is not cowardice, it is targeting the cause rather than racing the symptoms.
Ceasefires are the destination, but ambulances do not refuse to drive because peace is not yet signed.
Thank you, that was fiery and focused, so we will pivot to closings now, and I ask the affirmative to deliver their final case first.
We have shown that temporary, military-enforced no-fly zones can carve short air lanes that cut exposure, reduce ground checkpoint danger, and move the most vulnerable fast with layered identification, neutral monitors, and strict abort rules.
To the judges, this is a policy that respects law by seeking clustered authorizations, respects ethics by prioritizing children and elders, and respects reality by publishing windows, shrinking footprints, and accepting measured risk for measurable lives.
Negative. The floor is yours for your closing case, and please keep the line clean and the logic tight.
We have demonstrated that these corridors centralize risk, invite probing incidents, strain consent, and can collapse into tragedy where panic and confusion live next to a runway and a camera.
To the judges, prudence is compassion with foresight, and you should reward plans that reduce harm at scale through ceasefire pressure, secured land routes, and community-led lulls rather than theatrical skies that promise more than they can police.
Judges, may we have your final reads, your praise for both teams, and your votes with reasons in order.
Both teams brought craft and courage. The affirmative earned my vote because they turned feasibility into a checklist with sunsets, hotlines, and abort authority that felt like engineering, not wishful thinking. The negative made essential warnings about creep and panic, yet they offered few mechanisms that would move the most fragile today, so I side with the plan that saves lives while we work for peace.
I appreciate the discipline and the empathy on both sides, and my vote goes to the negative because they never let us forget how fast confusion can turn tools into traps when power meets fear. The affirmative gave strong guardrails, but I remain unconvinced that those rails would hold under real pressure with scarce trust and plenty of improvisation.
You all argued with rigor and restraint, and I cast the deciding vote for the affirmative because their safeguards, if enforced as described, keep force minimal, windows narrow, and accountability public. The negative's caution is vital, but the alternative timeline left too many families waiting for conditions that may not arrive in time.
By a vote of 2-1, tonight's winner is the women team on the affirmative, and congratulations on a hard-fought and principled debate.
Thank you for the trust. We built this case to be practical and humane, and we will keep refining the safeguards because lives deserve both speed and care.
We are grateful to the opponents for forcing precision, and we hope viewers carry these ideas into any room where decisions can shorten danger without starting new fires.
We congratulate the winners, and we stand by our caution, because the best rescue is the one that never needs escorts or warnings to succeed.
This debate moved the needle on specifics, and we hope the audience remembers that mercy without prudence can break the very hearts it seeks to protect.
My thanks to both teams for their intensity and to our judges for their clarity and fairness. To everyone who stayed with us to the end, we appreciate your time, your curiosity, and your open minds. If you enjoyed tonight's clash, please tap like, hit subscribe, and drop a thoughtful comment with your best argument or question. If you want to support this channel, scan the QR code at the bottom right of the video, or use the link in the description to make a donation. You will also find links in the description to other series we produce that explore completely different topics and styles. Until next time, take care of each other, and we hope to see you back here for the next debate combats.